Watson the third.
And we are the Watsons. On episode 7, we had Corey and Millie and their beautiful engagement, and we were able to be there. Shout out to them.
Hmm.
But what came out of it is that they met on the dating app. How do you feel about that?
I think that it was like almost like a taboo thing when it first came out. So like you had like eHarmony, shit like that, and it was like, oh, that's for squares, older people maybe, right? But you fast forward 9 years, it's like a thing. They're not the only couple I know. We literally have what, three close friends who met on dating websites. You know, back 2012, 13, it was like you had to pay for them. You remember? And
Mm-hmm.
it was like you had to really be serious, I guess. You know, and if you did meet somebody on there, that wasn't the story. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you might say, "Oh, I met him this way, that way,"
Yeah.
but you definitely weren't admitting to meeting him on a dating website.
Mm-hmm.
But again, fast forward, it seems like the way to go, right? It's cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
you know. You can kind of vet them, although you will see a representative, but you get a little bit more background than you normally would meeting them at a bar or at the gym. What do you think?
And that brings a good point because you're talking about nowadays you have a few friends, but usually when you hear about dating websites, I'm just kind of hesitant because I feel like it went from very serious, as you said, to being like a hookup thing. You're really hooking up with people. And I know back in the day when I looked at dating websites, you were like, this person is like outside. They're not really wanting to be what you call serious. They just want to do it as a hookup. So when I see people that are actually find someone and go all the way to engagement and marriage
Mm-hmm.
for these apps, I'm so surprised.
Yeah, you know what? For both of us, it wasn't our how do you say, that wasn't our go-to, right? As much, because I'm sure you got approached, and I don't really have any fear of rejection. Coming up, we talked to 20 girls. If you get two numbers, we call that a good night. You know what I'm saying? So it really didn't make me no difference approaching or not approaching, you know, because rejection is not a thing. But I guess for the introvert, that might be the best thing smoking,
Or
right?
location, because
What do you
I
mean?
had some family members or friends, especially like for example, if you're in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's an area where you grew up in, you kind of know some of the same people and you keep seeing the same people over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you expected to meet new people if you don't go on these dating apps and open up? Because sometimes the opportunities aren't as great
Yeah,
as they are here.
that makes sense because you often stay in a circle too, right?
Yeah,
And so at a point, you do start seeing the same faces.
the
So
circle. Yeah.
in order to kind of get out of it, right, without too much risk,
Mm-hmm.
you create a profile with your best pictures and a couple lies and a couple truths, and people got to decipher it.
And sometimes I think it's easier for some people to message via. That's why people slide in DMs. I think it's the same. It's easier to message via text message
Yeah.
versus going up. And I think there's some level of acceptance and like maybe vulnerability or just I don't know that women may have. Thinking of a friend in particular that she's just very shy when it comes to, or I don't even know shy or openness when it comes to talking to someone face to face, but something on a dating website where you can kind of message, kind of get to know each other before, that could be very appealing to some people.
Indeed, and that's also scary that you make that point, right? Because who the fuck is that person? If you nervous, you can't talk to me, but you get behind a keyboard and become a thug or a lover.
and, and
That's
then maybe easier though. It's easier for people to like feel comfortable.
yeah, easier but interesting, right? And it could be almost nerve wracking. So it's TBD, right? I think it's subjective. Um, to each his own for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think either way can be effective. And I think under COVID especially, it probably makes the most sense. So, shout out to them. Shout out to whoever's finding their partner, their person on dating websites or face to face.
Mm-hmm. So I guess in conclusion, the Watsons, we didn't like dating websites, but anyone who's willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
We say try it.
We say try it, nerdy. Now, we sat with the lovely Williams,
Yep. Episode 10.
indeed, JJ and Tiff, and it was a dope. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already, which I'm sure you have. A dope episode, just getting to know them, where they came from, what they became, what they are now, you know. And one thing came up, you know, the struggles of college life for real, you know. And depending on how you're doing it, you might have an apartment, you may not have a meal plan, and so times could be ugly. You know, you eating less than a pack of noodles a day, you know. And that's what, you know, kind of brought this thought or this question is the bag important? Does the bag matter? You know. And so, what do you feel?
I'm a person who thinks the bag does not matter. I think it's about the person. I think it's about their skill set. I've mentioned in episode 8/9 that with Hampton, he's a hustler. So I knew and I know that I would never be hungry. He'll do whatever it takes to make sure his family's all set. So when it comes to me, the bag itself, knowing the bag is there, that doesn't matter. Work ethic, drive, motivation, that is what matters. Building. I want to build with someone. I don't want someone to already have it and I get to just come into it. I want to know that I put the pain in, as Hampton would say, with someone so that I can really, really enjoy it. What do you think, baby?
I think, yeah, coming up together is important. I think that potential, how we say in coaching, potential can also get you fired. Right? So we had a lot of kids who were like, man, what's up with boy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then they never realized that potential. Now you between a rock and a hard place, you know? So I think that for our men, I guess we don't really think of like, does she have this and that? But kind of, especially living in this area.
Yeah.
You start to see a bunch of degrees and everybody being successful. You say, okay, that's dope. So how do I, you know, almost wade through or find, you know, who's what, right? Because a lot of the presentations in Washington, D.C., you know, and I'm sure a bunch of other places can be dope, you know? And I feel that the bag may matter too much, you know? Or maybe not even the bag, but rather titles. And I feel like people get caught up in the titles and they assume that the bag's there, right? When they don't know that this city is oversaturated with a bunch of professionals, you know? But I think people have to be on their way, right? So if you don't see it, I mean, that says a lot, you know. I knew what you did, man, because, right, of London school, you know, and it's just natural. And Kiki's in education, right? So that's an easier conversation to broach. And I guess you never asked me until maybe 4 or 5 months. I don't know if you asked. I think I'm like, oh, I'm about to go to work. You know what I'm saying? And I think because you saw me realizing my potential, you knew I could only go up. Plus, I was already getting it.
I think, yeah. And for me, I never specifically asked, but I knew you worked full time, you DJ'd, and then you also had passive income when it comes to your T-shirts and your hoodies and your sweatshirts and your whole clothing line. Shout out to ndtees.com. But because I've seen those 3 things, I never had to specifically ask, how much are you making? What is the potential in this? And any of that, because I knew all those things brought income in.
Yeah. Okay.
Which to me is smart.
Yeah.
You had passive income for a while. You're like, hey, let me put this up, and people grab stuff, and I can send out shirts and stuff. So to me, that's more motivating and attractive in my eyes than someone who's working, I don't know, godly hours or whatever the title is, and all of that other stuff.
Yeah, I agree. So the bag, important, yes, with a caveat.
Yes.
So just because they're not getting it, if you see that they can get it and they've been working their way towards it, I say go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Trust, respect, love, you know, support that person.
You know what you said to me the other day, and I asked you, like, how do you feel about us? And one thing you said to me, which indicates that the bag is not important, is that if we could and we met each other earlier, that we would have gotten married earlier. Things might have been difficult, but we'd be able to build.
Yeah.
And when you said that to me, that was a clear indication that the bag does not matter at all.
Yeah.
Because us together building is all that matters.
That's
now we
a
have
fact.
2 businesses together that we created together. So
Yeah, definitely. I think we certainly could have got it out the mud, you know? And I think that's the best person to be with. You know, some person that you can trust, that you can get it out the mud with them, you know? If you can't, put them in the bathroom.
So in conclusion, the Watson says, does the bag matter, baby? Does it?
Fuck the bag.
Fuck the bag. Go towards love. Love does not pay the bills, though, so get yourself a job.
A lot of shit matters, but you know, if you see it, go with it.